Good. Whoa, 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 whoa. What's good with y'all, boys, girls, they, thems, whatever the fuck you is. God damn it. Whatever, I already cursed. Whatever. We here checking out a new Trap University video, man. Chinese Mafia of Taiwan. Let's see what them niggas over there talking about, man. See if we get a Ray cameo. Probably not, but let's see.
I truly have never seen anything like a gang funeral in Taiwan. These are the real triads. And going down this rabbit hole, I've actually seen a lot of funerals like this in Taiwan, so is this just something people with money do in general? This was the funeral of Brother Leopard, leader of the Songlian gang, which is one of the 4 major triads in Taiwan. And this is the funeral for a member of the Bamboo Union, which are the 4 major triads in Taiwan. And this is the funeral.
This is funeral attire over there in Taiwan, China. Come on, man.
For a member of the Bamboo Union, which is the large.
No disrespect. Please don't hunt me down. I'm cool off all of that, man. But just gotta say it.
Just of the 4 major triads. And these guys are really, really flashy because this is just what happens when you die. When they're alive, oh man, they rented out the 5-star Marriott in Taipei, $150,000. They brought out over 100 women to greet the arriving triads, and this.
Maybe I need to join a triad, man, cause what the fuck?
Just for a spring dinner. But they started throwing so many parties, in fact, that it actually pissed off the police, with even the police making it clear that, and this is not me, this is a direct quote from an officer in Taipei. So the problem is not even the fact that the gang exists, it's the fact that they made the police look like idiots. So they started raiding all the clubs and hotels that the Bamboo Union was throwing parties at, and essentially they only got arrested for embarrassing.
Hey, hold on, wait a minute.
All the clubs and hotels at the Bamboo Union.
They had all the HUDs talking because they like, look, man, it's XL. But then again, at the same time, maybe it fucking didn't.
Was throwing parties at, and essentially they only got arrested for embarrassing the police. Understandable, I guess. These guys were tied to 76 kidnappings. And then I found the video of heavily armed police waiting outside the main office of a political party in Taiwan. But they're waiting here because a gang meeting is about to take place. So are you guys providing security for this event? This was in May 2025, and apparently the leader of the Bamboo Union had just died. And the police were expecting the senior gang members to come and elect a new boss. And when I saw that, I was like, okay, this is a setup, right? They're gonna arrest these guys as soon as they get there, but no, they just let them in, they ate, had a good time, and again, the police seemingly provided security.
Niggas got, man, what? We got M4s and whatever the fuck. Oh shit. We got M4s and whatever the fuck this is. Like, I can't even see it too good. Like, that's crazy. Bro's just posted with that, bro. Holy fuck.
The news caught up with a senior member leaving, and they asked him, hey, did you guys just pick a new gang leader? And he said, no, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Really?
He did know what they were talking about, and not only does he also have a cool name, the White Wolf, but he used to be a leader of the Bamboo Union Triads, and he was 100% in here on gang business. Also, remember when I said this meeting was at the headquarters of a political party? Well, that party is called the Chinese Unification Party. The Chinese Unification Party. Which, if you know anything about China and Taiwan, then this is very interesting because the entire reason for Taiwan's existence is the fact that it doesn't want to unify with China.
Why did he play this fucking music, bro?
Unless it can be in charge, of course. So as you can imagine, many believe that the Beijing government supports this group despite knowing about its criminal ties. But this all started when I saw a double shooting in the Taipei City News. And it happened outside of the Tianlong Spa, which people have alleged to be a known brothel, but it's kind of unclear.
Hold on, man. Let me skip forward, but they got of course they do. What am I talking about? Of course they have brothels.
From the reviews, though, it is clear that adult entertainment gets played on a projector for some reason. And the translation on that article is very rough, but it says that the men shot outside of the spa were Wu Mingda and one of his associates. And Wu is apparently a known gangster, part of the Wei Zhen group, or Wei Chen, and he and his associate both survived with minor injuries, and the shooter turned himself in. And the news also implies that the shooter's job was just to wound the gang leader and not kill him because it was supposed to be a warning, since he had 15 bullets and only fired 4. But once
Damn.
again, a very questionable response from the police. Police in Taipei announced that in response to this bold gangland shooting, literally in the middle of the city, they said, we'll look.
You know, let me rewind it real quick. Future's Gangland played the moment he said gangland. Well, it played in my head. I don't know how else to explain it, but like, you feel me?
This bold gangland shooting, literally in the middle of the city, they said, we'll look into it for the next week and a half, but that's about it. Why is there a time limit on this? Why is the time limit so short? Some would argue this kind of makes the police seem like they either don't care or are very, very corrupt. And yeah, Taiwan is definitely not a place you can describe as dangerous, but like anywhere, once you affiliate with crime syndicates, you are 100% more likely to become the target of the little gun violence that does exist. And apparently for a place with very strict firearm regulations, here's a guy letting off 50 shots into a storefront. Here's what look.
That nigga let that motherfucker whip. Boy, that boy was spraying them. Come on, what? Yo, nah, he'll crash out for sure. They already know that. That's why they got that nigga on their side.
Looks like a kid shooting into a temple. And this is apparently a tactic of many gangsters in Taiwan, because I learned about it through a man called Duckhead, who was a gang member known for being ruthless, as he was accused of letting off 20 shots into a house and a pawn shop owned by his rivals in 2022. And the man's house he shot up, Lin, also known as Lemon, responded by ramming his car into Duck's house. But Duck was eventually gunned down in 2024 in Kaohsiung City by a man known as Fatty. But very strange that a known ruthless gang member has a wife who is a politician. And yes,
a little wife cam, okay.
He also had a real Taiwan gangster funeral, McLarens, Bentleys, Rolls Royces, and once again, the Taiwan police appearing to act as security. And I shouldn't be surprised, because the officer earlier in the video did also say that there was a mutual respect between the gangs and the law. But this and his marriage also raises more questions about the ties between the government and the Triads, both the Taiwanese government and the CCP in the mainland. Now, I've heard people say that most Triads are from Taiwan instead of mainland China, but the largest group of Triads in Taiwan is mostly made up of Taiwan Xinyan, which is a very rough translation of
Thank fuck he didn't get the Google Translate bitch to say that.
Is mostly made up of Taiwan Xinyan, which is a very rough translation of mainlanders in Taiwan, or Taiwan aliens, but it also sometimes translates as Dalu Ren Za Taiwan. Wow, can't wait for the people who actually speak Mandarin to hear that, but this is a term used to describe migrants that came from the mainland at the end of the Chinese Civil War and their descendants.
So that's what that means.
Used to describe migrants that came from the mainland at the end of the Chinese Civil War and their descendants. And the Bamboo Union was actually founded by a guy from the mainland, so I guess it kind of makes sense why the CCP is alleged to be in collusion with the Bamboo Union to promote unification with the CCP. But jokes aside about the police, Taiwan usually ranks as one of the top 50 most transparent countries, signaling that it's not that corrupt, although recently there have been a few corruption scandals in government. But regardless, when things happen involving one of these groups, it's often done in a way that shows little regard for the law, like when members of the Songlian gang beat a guy at the entrance of a Taiwan police station. But interestingly, despite the Bamboo Union being well known, it seems like the more information I read about them, the more questions I have. They've been known to be loan sharks involved in drug and human smuggling, as well as in the past contract killing. But where's the money coming from? Yeah, they could possibly be tied to the drug trafficking in the Golden Triangle, but it still doesn't answer any of my questions. These are guys that pop out in over $5 million worth of foreign cars and show off their wealth like a drug cartel in Mexico. But the difference is the police in Mexico at least say they're trying to arrest these guys, while in Taiwan, the Triads make news appearances, the police guard their dinners and funerals, and the government in Taiwan even accuses mainland China of sponsoring organized crime by using Triads to support unification, while also allowing a former Triad leader to operate a legit political party that's pro-unification. But yeah, democracy. I guess it will be kind of undemocratic to not allow him to have a party just because he's a pro-Beijing triad, but the criminal activity out in the open sounds like a movie sometimes. I mean, in 2018, the White Wolf sent one of his sons, Zhang Wei, to lead a diplomatic meeting with the Kyokurukai Yakuza in Japan, where they exchanged intelligence, with the Japanese media believing that this close relationship between the Bamboo Union and the Okinawa branch of the Yakuza is part of an attempt by the CCP to extend its influence in the area, which, in case you didn't know, Okinawa is part of the Ryukyu Islands, which had a small independence movement, but for the most part, everyone in these islands wants to remain.
Oh, I gotta soak all this in. Okay. So, pretty interesting. Taiwan is an island.
which had a small independence movement, but for the most part, everyone in these islands wants to remain part of Japan. But if the CCP wants to use this group for intel and
Still heard
political
it.
influence, I wondered, what political influence does the Bamboo Union have? Yes, they've been tied to the Unification Party, but that party doesn't hold any seats in government. But the answer to that question is strangely when a murder for hire comes into play. You see, in the 1980s, the founder of the Bamboo Union Triads flew to California to kill a man named Henry Liu. Henry was a journalist that immigrated to the United States and started criticizing the ruling party of Taiwan. And when the killer flew back to Taiwan, the United States implicated him in the murder and he was arrested. But when the US requested that he be extradited to face charges in the US, Taiwan said no, and 6 years later, he was released from prison. But where this connects to the Taiwan government is when Vice Admiral Wang Xiling was accused of being the one who ordered the hit, which is not all that surprising when you realize that he was also the head of the intelligence bureau, or essentially the CIA of Taiwan, and even though he was sentenced to life in prison in Taiwan for his role in the crime, he was also released 6 years later after receiving special treatment in prison, since apparently his cell had a kitchen and a private room, and it was big enough
Damn, they living better than us. What the fuck?
for his family to come and live with him during his sentence. And yes, he was granted clemency by the president. So here we have the government of Taiwan seemingly not wanting to punish a high-ranking official or his paid triad hitman. But since this was a plot against a dissident of the ruling party, it's possible that this happened before the CCP was fully supporting the group. But this actually makes the government look even more suspicious since the triads still appear to be able to do whatever they want no matter which party they support. But it doesn't stop here. Have you ever heard of a gang-affiliated temple?
No,
because
I have
according to
not.
the Global Taiwan Institute, the Jinlang Temple in the Daxia district of Taichung City, which organizes the largest religious event in Taiwan, a pilgrimage for the goddess Mazu, is chaired by Yinqing Piao, who, despite being a gang member, was also a member of government for 10 years. And Yin is still the chairman of this temple, with Taiwan's president still making appearances there, despite the fact that Yin was found guilty of spending government funds at hostess bars, which is essentially a strip club with no poles. But the dynamic of gangs, temples, and politics is just a byproduct of the less than democratic side effects of how Taiwan is run. This is not traditional organized crime that people are used to in the West. Much like the Yakuza in Japan, it's a mix of gangsters involved in politics and legitimate business. But unlike the Yakuza, these groups have much more freedom, as constant crackdowns and law changes in Japan make it harder for the Yakuza to operate. And yeah,
Man, they out there flexing, man.
I've had a lot of fun with this Asia series. I'm glad you guys enjoy it. I even spoke on Israel in my last video, and I noticed that a couple of you guys were kind of worried about me, but we're going to continue the series and let me know how good my Mandarin was. Either way, thanks for watching.
It was terrible. I'm gonna just tell you right now, man. We all know it was terrible. We not Mandarin, we not Chinese, we not Taiwanese. We ain't from none of them places. Come on. You did good though. Everything else, fine. Oh, well, that's the end of that motherfucker. Hope y'all enjoy watching that as much as I did. I'm gonna catch y'all in the next one. Y'all have a good morning, afternoon, evening, night, whatever it is, man. Y'all take care.